Hello, Alchemist. Where is joy calling you right now? If you've already chosen your card, check the doorways below and the timestamps. If not, I'll give you a closer look. Doorway number 1, Shadow Dancer. Doorway number 2, the creation of light. And doorway number 3, to dance with joy. Choose your doorway, Alchemist, and let's begin the great work. Hello, Alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 1. Where is joy calling you? You chose Shadow Dancer. Ooh, that's such a beautiful card. So I get the feeling that you're somebody who's been through a lot of really difficult things with this card, and yet you're still able to find the silver lining in any situation, even if temporarily you feel defeated or overwhelmed or anything like that. You always find a way to rise above. And so, my initial thoughts, and we'll get way more into it by pulling your shadow card and everything, which I feel like is going to be extra significant for you with this Shadow Dancer. But my initial impression is this feeling that you actually get a lot of joy from being in the liminal space. So in that space that usually agitates other people, the space between who you were and who you're going to be. You actually like those transformative moments. And the weird thing is that sometimes you're probably going to feel like you hate them. But then when things quiet down, you're like looking for the next way to grow, looking for the next way to change. And in the past, you may have shied away from the quote-unquote darker or shadow aspects of yourself. And remember, shadow is not actually dark necessarily. Shadow is just what's hidden, which is often good things, right? Like creativity and joy and being silly and, acting the way that's authentic to you, even if other people see it as cringe or whatever, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at your shadow card. Look at that. The entire world in a teardrop. And doesn't this just match Shadow Dancer? Someone who's not afraid. You've probably had some times in your past where you were very melancholy. Depending on your age, maybe you were emo, maybe you were goth. You might be attracted to things like skulls and maybe scary movies, that kind of thing. And because I get this feeling, I'm going to pull one of these Memento Mori cards for you. Count your blessings. Yeah, so like even in the darkest moments, you can always find the silver lining, right? You can always, your joy in a lot of ways comes from experience. And sometimes that experience is hard and sometimes it's easy. But you're the kind of person who somehow finds joy in all of it. The Sufi mystics, I think it's Hafez who has a poem, and I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but basically he says something along the lines of like, when you're, when you see like the painful things of the world or feel the painful things in yourself and hear, or see the beauty of a hummingbird, and they both inspire you, that's where the divine lies. And it's not saying spiritualize pain. It's not saying glorify pain, nothing like that. What it's saying is pain is going to happen. How are you going to interpret it? And your joy comes from seeing the beauty in your own tears, feeling it and understanding it as a unique experience. And not necessarily running away with a story. You don't want to do that. You don't want to glamorize pain at all or suffering, but rather live the best life you can. And when there is suffering that arises, to find your peace within it, to find the silver lining, to use that liminal space of unknown to grow and see the blessings that you have in your life. Reciprocity, give help, receive help. With these cards lining up like this, I would say there's a good chance you could be someone who's a little bit, you know, maybe a hermit or hermitess, as I call myself. I call myself a hermitess, which is fine. But it's also saying, you're going to find a lot of joy from reaching out and connecting with other people who understand you, or other people who compliment you. Remember, I always think about the fact that, like, I don't want to hang out with people who are exactly like me. That would be kind of boring, right? So someone who compliments you is someone who maybe naturally challenges you, but in a compassionate, nice way. I'm not talking about challenges as like control and stuff, because we know there's a lot of people out there like that. But, your joy, you are being called to be more joyful in connecting with people, and more joyful in just loving yourself directly, no matter where you're at. Rest, prioritize sleep and peace. And one of the reasons that you probably have been in this space of hermit energy, hermitess energy, is because you've been worn out. You're tired. Like I said, whoever picked, if you're resonating with this pile, you've probably been through a lot of difficult things in your life. And so prioritizing peace, prioritizing sleep. I was actually just reading about this, I think it was a Papua New Guinea tribe named the Kaluli or something like that. I'm probably getting the name wrong. But anyway, one of the things they said is, like, their culture doesn't have anxiety and sadness like the rest of the world. I said, why? Why is that the case? They did a bunch of studies, and they found out, like, every night before bed, this culture takes their children around a campfire, and they ask the children what fears, what pains, what sadnesses, anything like that happened to them that day. And then the adults listen without judgment as the children express what happened to them. They don't try to fix it. They don't try to judge them. They don't try to tell them, don't worry about it, go to bed. So, like, before they go to sleep, the children have processed whatever happened that day. And so then that becomes part of the structure of their psyche. And so I was just thinking, when it says prioritize sleep and peace, to get good sleep, you have to have peace, right? And so, yeah, this is painting a beautiful picture of joy for you. Let's go ahead and start pulling the Fool. Okay, you couldn't really get a better card for this, right? The Fool, playful, new energy, the unmanifest. The moment, where you take what has been pushed into your shadow, singing, dancing, playing, laughing, being goofy, and manifesting it into your reality. So this is the unmanifest coming into reality, a new start, a fresh energy, a fresh joy. King of Swords. Part of this is cutting through the expectations, cutting through the nervous system reactions, cutting through the automatic feeling that you're wrong, or what you do is embarrassing or cringy or something. Being your authentic self, why does that have to align with some kind of monotropic thing, right? Like a single acceptable thing. Like, and I actually really like the way stuff is moving now, because now everyone, instead of like trying to fit into one giant mono culture thing, people are like breaking off into their little communities, their little niches, even if it's online. Like, for example, on my videos, not very often, but like actually only like 2 or 3 since I started my channel, across platforms or whatever, I've gotten a little comment or something that'll be something like, oh, well, this video is absolutely nonsense, and it, that's the most ridiculous video I ever saw about nothing or whatever. And I'm thinking, that's okay. Everyone has their own opinion, but this is clearly not your space, right? It doesn't affect me at all, because I think clearly this space is not for them, and that's fine. you know. I'm not going up into, I don't know, monster truck spaces and being like, you guys are stupid or whatever. I mean, I don't think monster truck. I'm just saying, you know, it's not something I'm interested in. So I'm not going into their space and, you know, because their joy is their joy and that's cool. My joy is my joy and that's cool. No one else should be making anyone else feel bad about their joys, you know, so long as it's not hurting themselves or anyone else. And it shows it shows insecurity in the other person, right? It shows their insecurity. So I said all that because I feel like sometimes you might internalize that and you might have dimmed yourself or not been as bright or felt that joy fully because you were afraid of how it's going to be received externally. But you can cut through that. You don't need, you know what? There are 8 billion people in this world. There are literally thousands or hundreds of thousands of people who are interested and will love the same things that you love. You don't have to listen to the few people who are so insecure that they're putting you down for it, right? 4 of Swords. Yeah, this is the same thing, except this one is actually, most of the time 4 of Swords is more of a restful card, but this is more of like a recovery from injury card. And so, yeah, I'm getting that your joy has been really pushed down by this outer judgment coming down on you and brought you a lot of tears. The Mentor. Look at that. I love elephants. They're so intelligent. And, you know, this is kind of the Hierophant equivalent in this deck. So, finding the community that aligns with you and not the one passed down to you, not the one traditionally considered what you're supposed to do. Look at that. Oh my gosh, 2 of Cups. You know, when you start moving in this direction of finding your people, of being your authentic self, because you don't want to be an actor your whole life. You don't want to get around a bunch of people you think you should have and you're afraid of losing because you're afraid of losing them if you're your true self. You want to be your true self and attract the real people. And it actually, you know, if you're single and you're looking for someone, this is how you find them, right? This is how you find them. And like I said, you can start with online communities. What is it that makes your heart sing, or what made your heart sing when you were a child? What makes you joyful? What makes you say, I am so excited to wake up tomorrow? There's been some point in your life where you felt this way. Think back about what that was. And then what happens is, because that joy and stuff gets dulled for so long, it can feel almost like you're an imposter in your own joy at first, right? It can feel like you're an imposter in your own joy at first. Think about that. And that's the moment where you have to just, you know, don't do something that feels wrong to you, but make sure you're challenging yourself to push a little further, because it's going to take a while to loosen the grip of that kind of energy, right? So you can really step into this joy. And you're used to dancing in these in-between spaces. So I know you won't have a problem with it. You just have to get over the initial jolt of discomfort, right? Oh my God, I'm so excited for you. This is really opening up new doors. With this Page of Swords, we've got like fun energy. You know, you got the King and the Page. So it's like, yeah, be serious, cut out the crap. Don't let other people, you know, get all up in your face about your joy or make you feel diminished. But also make sure you approach it with beginner's mind. If you haven't been practicing joy because you've been repressed for so long, or you've been told and then you've had to put it away and hide it, if you haven't been practicing joy, that means you're a newbie to joy, and that's okay, right? It's better to start now than never. So approach it as something that you're going to be clumsy at, maybe, that you're not going to necessarily feel it intuitively, and that's okay. Just keep plugging away at it. Sometimes beginner's mind, looking at everything fresh and new, can give you the greatest perspective of all. Alchemist, I'm so happy you're here. And please comment below about how this happens in your life, because I bet you have a really spectacular personality if this is your pile. For sure, for sure. All right, I'll see you next time. Continue the great work. Hello, Alchemist, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 2. Where is joy calling you right now? You chose the creation of light. Ooh. Okay. So first off, I get the feeling that you are an optimist. If this pile is resonating with you, you are an optimist. Um, Other people around you might often get super grumpy and only see the worst in things, but you can have a situation that's like 100 times worse than the people around you, and you'll still be trying to make the best of it. But I feel, and we'll see what your shadow card says in a second, but I feel like if this is your call to joy, the creation of light, and you are already the light creator, then that means you're probably burned out. But let's go ahead and see what your shadow card says. Yeah, this light isn't filled with light and radiating. It's just a little candle. You feel really, really burnt out. But you still are holding that light. It's not a coincidence, right? So what you're trying to do is your shadow has you kind of, the way society has taught you and stuff, it's like give and give and give, be that light, be the positive person. But then you eventually get drained and you feel like, oh, I only have a teeny tiny spark left. But I think it's the Buddha that says something like, a single candle can light 1,000 candles, and the original flame is neither extinguished or diminished, something like that. And so with this energy, we're thinking, okay, well, how can you still be that beautiful, bright, joyful person in this world without other people draining you? And that's what joy wants you to figure out, that balance, so that you can be this creator of light, the creation of life, the creator of light, without it diminishing you or making you feel like you have to isolate yourself in order to protect yourself. And it's okay to do that sometimes. I said in doorway number 1, like, I'm a hermitess, I still make sure that I'm interacting with people. I have lots of online friends. I have this wonderful community. I have my sisters. I have my family. So, I get more than enough joy from all that. And I still get a lot of alone time with me and my bunny and my puppy and my chickens and just the beautiful nature here. Gossip. Word spreads fast. Oh, okay. So I'm feeling like this is just kind of jumping off of your shadow card, which is basically that, you're putting out that signal because you have that light and you're so bright, but you've been conditioned to give it away. You're probably the kind of person that's like, someone's like, oh, can I have a piece of gum? And you're like, yeah, here's some gum. You want a kidney? Like, and that energy that comes off of you, it draws in everybody, especially predators that want to suck your light away, right? So this is where we're talking about discernment. How can you shine bright but not give your light away? Just be the light. You light and spark others off. That's your joy. Joy is saying, be your authentic, bright self without worrying about helping other people. You will help them by your very presence. You don't have to give in the sense of cutting off pieces of your soul, making your life miserable so that theirs can be a teeny tiny bit better. Joy wants you to just shine bright and inspire others. And I always think of the idea of like when we overgive, we're doing a disservice to ourselves, obviously, but we're doing a disservice to that person because karma, which is the natural consequence of action, will play out. And if you step between that person and their karma, and I talked about this earlier this week, you're delaying their karma. And as Aldous Huxley says, basically that everything has a price, and the longer you wait, the higher the price. So when you step between a person and their karma and you pick up burdens that are not your own and it damages you, it also teaches them that they don't need to learn it themselves and they don't need to pick up their own self. And it doesn't mean you can't help when someone needs help, but learning that discernment is important. But then it delays that karma coming to them. It destroys you in the meantime. Their karma does. But when it does hit them, it's going to hit them 10 times harder because all that buildup right? It's going to hit at once instead of coming slowly as the lessons like it would have naturally. All right. Family. Nurture familial bonds. All right. And once again, family can mean family, like blood family, but can also mean found family. Much of my family is found family. You know, anyone can be born into any blood family, right? But it takes special people to be family, as in real family. So, you know, anyone can, it's like I always say, anyone can, you know, do the deed and have a baby, but to be a real family member means to be a good person to each other. So I feel like you probably have some really good familial bonds. I'm not getting the level of isolation with this as I did with doorway number 1. So you probably at least have a couple of really good friends or family that are on your side, whether it's in person, online, whatever. Except, I love these little cards. I don't know. They just, I think it's going to be hard for you. This is where this accept comes in, especially with the death there with the scythe and all the poppies. The poppies, you know, they're about sleeping, you know. So getting out of the poppy field is to awaken. What you think is beautiful, helping people, overgiving, has been detrimental to you. It's kept you in a brain fog. It's kept you asleep. It's kept your light dim. And this family card could also mean that sometimes that draining energy comes from, you know, it's within the house. The call's coming from within the house. But with this nurture familial bonds, it feels like that it's saying nurture your good friendships, nurture your good family relationships. I love your energy, by the way. You have such, what do I want to say? It's like fun, but also like kind of a little bit of a theatrical energy. And, you know, I'm saying dramatic here, but like, for example, in my relationships and stuff, I don't do drama, but boy, am I theatrical, right? My friends are theatrical. When we have a real problem, we sit down and we talk it out. It might get a little heated because we're humans, but we work it out because we're like, you know what? We're all human and we're going to have hard days and things are going to be rough. But, you know, in my day-to-day life, yeah, I'm going to throw on a cape. I'm going to be theatrical. I get a little bit of that from you when you're in your true light energy. And that's what it is. You're in that true light energy, being kind of theatrical and fun and silly. And you walk out the door and your light change. You know, for every person you meet, it's like 6 degrees, right? So like if you meet one person and you make their day a little better, then that influences 3 people that they meet, and then 3 people they meet, and 3. So it's like 900 people. For every interaction you have the potential to make 900 people's day better, right? 6 degrees out. And that's who you are, and that's how you change the world, by just being that joyful light. And people dimming that light, it's a crime against humanity. Look at that. You're ready to let go and be reborn. Let go of this energy and be reborn into your brightest self, which is not really being reborn, but more like rediscovering. Ooh, chills. 5 of Cups. Yeah, you know, that judgment, all that thing, it's made you turn more inward and make you feel more judgmental. All you can see is the criticism, but there's love, there's joyfulness, there's bounty right behind you. Look, you have wings. You got this. You got this, Alchemist. Queen of Cups. Yeah, and here you are coming into that energy, transmuting this 5 of Cups into the Queen of Cups. Look at all this. Come on. Look at all this. 2 queenly figures holding a globe of light. You are the light. And you know, I would also say that if you're drawn to this pile, there's a good chance you're a highly sensitive person. So like you feel everything so deeply, so strongly. You're so affected. And that's one of the reasons why you overgive. But it's also one of the reasons why when you transmute this and you kind of go into this energy this way, where you're giving without draining yourself, that your joy will escalate so much that you will be your joy will be so contagious, because it already is. It's just it's been super dimmed. Ace of Cups. Oh, you are definitely got some theatrical stuff in you. And if you don't now, it's in your shadow. So maybe you were theatrical as a kid. I'm just talking about like kind of like, oh, instead of going out, to play in my regular clothes, I want to wear a princess dress, or I'm going to dress up like a dinosaur or something. You had that, and then maybe people kind of made fun of you for it and you put it away. Yeah. There's so much Cups energy. So this is so deeply tied to your emotional state. Like I said, it feels like nervousness around judgment from, external judgment. But you got this. Oh my God, love. You've got a choice, but also like, in the same position in doorway number 1 was the 2 of Cups. And so I'm just feeling like if you feel drawn to that pile, please go there as well. But, it can mean literal love, obviously, but I just get like falling in love with life again, falling in love with yourself again. I have this other deck, and like the love card, or the 2 of Cups or whatever, is a person looking in a mirror at themselves. I'm getting that energy, yeah. 7 of Pentacles. Slow and steady wins the race. You have to plant the seeds. This isn't going to happen overnight. These are deeply rooted, right? Deeply rooted patterns. So be gentle, forgiving. The first time you go strutting about, you're going to be so nervous. So you can start small. You don't have to go out tomorrow in the amazing outfit you're thinking about right now. You can start with a ring or a necklace, or just a shirt that you feel a little, it's crazy that in society they get people so worked up, like that we get terrified to wear that dress instead of those blue jeans. Isn't that crazy? That's really crazy, right? That they have us so programmed that we fret about what we're going to wear. I mean, what? It's literally like fibers we put over our bodies. Like, it's not, yeah. Anyway, it's so interesting. I love your energy, Alchemist. You've been doing a lot of really difficult shadow work lately. And so I'm so glad to see this joy that is growing in you. And I hope that this has helped you identify it. Please tell me a little bit about your own theatricities and eccentricities down in the comments below. I can't wait to read them, and I'll see you next time. Keep up the great work. Hello, Alchemist, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 3. Where is joy calling you right now? You chose to dance with joy. And I just draw these. I don't cherry pick them. So I love when that stuff aligns like this. So this reading has been such a, we go through a lot of heavy shadow work on this channel, and today's reading has just been so fun and so playful and so lighthearted. I mean, we're still digging into our stuff, but it's digging into our stuff to remember the beautiful, joyful things. And the first impression I'm getting to dance with joy, I'm thinking literally, your life is a dance. Literally. How can you dance with more joy? Whether that's dancing around your kitchen or, movement. Movement can bring such joy. And as a person who has tried for years to love exercising, it does not have to be that, like, well, I guess you get 2 of this. And I was like, it didn't matter how many years I went to the gym, I still hated it. And so not everyone is made for the box, right? A lot of people are made to do it different. So now, my main exercise is literally dancing around my house all the time. I go swimming and stuff like that too sometimes, but, whatever I can handle. Even if it's just sitting on my couch dancing around, or just sitting there be like, yeah, music all the time. Or if I'm doing laundry or whatever. So you have I get like a little bit of a mischievous spirit from you. I love it. Joyful, playful, mischievous. So let's look at your shadow. Oh, okay. All right. So in your shadow, what's blocking this connection with joy is that in your day-to-day life, you can become stagnant or content with what, not that you're in a prison, but like life itself can become like a prison because you just get caught up in day-to-day stuff, and then you're like, I don't have time for that. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And this person almost has a content look on their face, but their eyes are closed to the reality, right? And so I think that in your shadow is the idea of like some inner frustration with you accepting situations that don't bring you the level of joy that you know that you can have and that you deserve. But the question is because this is in the shadow, is why are you accepting it, right? And there's no blame here. These are all rhetorical questions for you to ponder. You can ball them up and throw them away if you want to. It's fine. I'm never attacking anyone, I promise. Serendipity, fated encounter. You were meant to be here. You know, dragonfly is one of my favorite. Dragonfly is dragonflies start in water and they move into air. So that's the realm of the heart to the mind. So connecting those two is going to be really important for you, not living just in one or the other. But also, like, I feel like you have a trust, or you had a trust that brought you a lot of joy, that things were always going to work out okay. And when you ended up in this kind of mindset, you kind of went into denial about it, right? But this is your reminder. This is your reminder that you have that joy, that dance, that you are meant for greater things. And I'm not talking about like, everyone's not meant to be like a superstar. Everyone's not, but like, not that those are even the most important things, right? But maybe you're meant to be the best teacher in the school you work at, or maybe you're meant to be that person whose smile makes everybody's day better. Don't do any of that if it's fake. Don't do any of that if it's not aligned with your authentic self, because then you'll burn yourself out. But that's where the dance comes in, right? The dance is something that happens naturally. You move with the music. How do you get into flow so that you aren't stagnating? How do you get into flow? Creativity. Use your imagination. Ooh, do you like writing? Do you like painting? Do you like pottery? Do you like putting together Lego Millennium Falcons? What is it that makes you happy? What is it that makes you joyful? It is time to tap into that. Carving pumpkins. It's kind of a joke in my family. I have like this weird obsession with pumpkins ever since I was a little kid. Like when I was like 12, I made a pumpkin feast. It was like pumpkin pudding and pumpkin pie and pumpkin cheesecake and pumpkin soup. And my family was like, okay, are you okay? So anyway, it's fine. Art doesn't and creativity doesn't have to mean any specific thing. It can be laying on your back and looking at the clouds and seeing what emerges. It can be literally reading a book where someone else is feeding you images that you can process through your imagination. All of it's fine. All of it's valid, right? Even in a video game, like there's a video game where I built an entire Halloween island, and I just did it for fun. I mean, only other people playing the game are ever going to see it, although my nephews were very proud of me. But the point is that it let out a specific creative thing in me at that moment, right? So what brings you that? That is the dance. That is the flow. Rewind and reset. Ponder karma. Karma has been coming up a lot in the readings lately. Before we talk about that, rewind and reset for me in this context makes me think of thinking back to your childhood about what made you feel joyful, what brought you the feeling of creativity. It could be as simple as using a stick and drawing in the dirt, right? That's the thing. It doesn't have to be anything. It's a reset of your mindset, right? A reset of your mindset. Not simulacra, not yearning or nostalgia, like yearning for a past that never really was. It's about thinking about what made you joyful then and then transforming it into something, or letting it remind you of a feeling that you can associate with something else. And you'll be surprised how fast things fall into place for you in these ways. Like, so if you start, like, let's say painting or something, and then you do a really great painting and someone else sees it and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then suddenly you have a little gallery in your local library for a month or something, right? That's all awesome. So maybe it was that you like finger painting as a kid and suddenly you've got a little floor painting art gallery at the local library for a month and you start selling paintings on the side. You know, it's just a random example. Or you join a belly dancing class, you know, what is it that makes you feel good? So pondering karma. I feel like, I actually use the example all the time that karma is not a cosmic judge. Karma is the natural results of an action. So if you kick a table, the natural consequence of that action is a hurt foot, right? Which is interesting because this is like a doctor. So for every cause, there is an effect. For every action, there is a consequence, good or bad or neutral. You know, whether it's good or bad or neutral is actually the human viewpoint of it, right? Karma just is. It's almost like the law of gravity. It just is. So with that, I think you're being asked to reflect on this because of this shadow. Ponder karma, because you may be sitting here in this energy thinking that there's nothing you can do about it. But this is the result of your current mindset, your current actions. And you can change that so that your future self is not sitting in that energy. But the problem with this is that a lot of times the karma starts from somebody else. So when you're a child, you don't have any control over the situation you're born into and the things that happen to you. But then there's a point where that responsibility kind of changes over into your hands, but you're still left with the consequences of how others treated you. But there is a point where you have to decide to take responsibility. And there's so much to work through because with this comes the idea that you also have to, you know what, there is the most beautiful blue bird sitting on my cucumber trellis right outside the window. It's not a blue jay. It is this, oh my gosh, it's the most beautiful star. You wouldn't be able to see it if I put the camera. Oh, it just flew off. So anyway, feeling of renewal. There's a lot of blue in this reading, so it made me think of it. Being that flash of color in a world that's monochrome or whatever. So anyway, you aren't originally responsible for what happens to you in life, but eventually that responsibility switches to you, and you have to decide if you're going to give yourself permission to feel it and to work through it and then take responsibility, or if you're going to kind of sit in this energy, right? And just kind of let, you know, it's your life. Do what you will, right? There's never any judgment here. Actually, I can get very judgmental, but it's only against people who hurt other people. I can't with that. I can't with injustice. I just can't. Okay, let's take a look. 3 of Pentacles. You know, there's been an overarching theme through these joy readings today, and that is find your community, find your people that are going to support you and make you feel truly supported. Don't settle for people you have to act around. Settle for people who look at you and see you. Like I said, there's 8 billion people in this world. You're going to find 5 people or 3 people or 2 people or even 1 person who you gel with, right? 3 of Cups. Oh my God. Fun. Hanging out with people. Community support. Yeah. 2 of Wands. Looking ahead. Ace of Swords. High Priestess. and King of Cups. Wow. Okay, your energy is so fun. If you aren't already like a people person or something, like there's a part of you that desires to do that. It's kind of funny because these three doorways progress. The first person was like very hermitess energy. The second one was kind of, oh, I kind of withdrew because I was judged a lot. And this one is very much like, oh, I'm out there. I want to be out there. It was surprisingly like a Leo or an Aries or maybe a Sagittarius, or you have some placements there because that's that. This is that energy for sure. And but to align with your joyful purpose is to get out there, to show your bright creative self, to go dancing, to hang out with friends, to find like-minded people. And don't you worry, naysayers, judgers, what they say doesn't mean anything. The people who mind don't matter. The people who matter don't mind, right? There's 8 billion people in this world. People who expect everyone to align with their specific way are very immature and very insecure, right? So when someone says that, just don't worry about it. Just say, you know what? Clearly that's not my person because whatever, they like wrestling and I like tarot cards or whatever. But it's not just that. It's okay for people to like different things, but I'm just saying. But they are the kind of person that's going to judge someone else for the innocent things that they enjoy that aren't hurting anybody. You don't want that energy because you're going to feel like you are in judgment and on display and that you have to perform. And you don't want that. You want to find people that give you this energy. And I feel like you probably already have at least one or two, even if they're just online. But the next step is to make sure you're getting into flow, getting into that creative mood. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you. Please tell me below about your joy, the creative thing that you do now or the one you did when you were a kid, and how this is moving in your life. All right, Alchemist, thank you so much for being here. This was such a joy for me to do. My calling is my joy. So thank you for being here. And I will see you next time. Continue the great work.